Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar for Alibi Cloud VS, covering retail solutions and applications. My name is Keith Becker. I'm a senior product manager here at Alibi Security. We're going to spend roughly the next 30 minutes covering the Alibi Cloud VS solution, specifically targeting retail applications and needs to hopefully tell you how you can fit this into your business model and give your customers more what they're asking for. First, we're going to cover a brief overview of the Alibi Cloud VS platform. For those that are new, we want to make sure you understand the platform we're talking about. Then we're going to hop right into our retail applications, talk about some of the advantages that we get for the cloud solution for you and your customer. And then lastly, talk about how this can generate recurring monthly revenue to augment your business and give you some new revenue sources that you may not have had the ability to get to with your normal business model on-premise solutions in the past. So what is Alibi Cloud VS? This is a cloud-based platform. It is a true camera-to-cloud system. And what we mean by camera-to-cloud is we have no on-premise recording solutions requirements at all. So the camera streamed directly to a secure data center. That video is stored. It's completely managed from that cloud system. We've developed this in partnership with Eagle Eye Networks, who's a global leader in the video surveillance technology space in the cloud. And we're working with them every day to continue to engineer this to be cutting-edge, scalable, cyber secure, and a platform that we really call simple, scalable, and secure, just to help feature needs. So hopping right into retail applications, there's lots of benefits that this system can give your retailers, and we get a lot of questions on challenges for retailers every single day. So the things that we're going to cover today is how this helps with network security, how we can help with flexible storage needs that do come up during and after deployments, how this creates an ultra-secure environment for the evidence, so to make sure that it's there when the customer needs it, how this will help with multi-site management and how powerful it can be whenever you're talking about franchise locations, and lastly, just the easy management, intuitive user interface that it comes with really makes the training bar pretty low when it comes to training your customers for a variety of use cases. So network security, this is something that happens in every retail space and sometimes gets overlooked when you're deploying not just security, but any device on a retailer's network. Every retailer that takes credit cards has to follow a PCI compliance guideline, and PCI compliance is not really, I should say, something that a security product can get certified for. It's more of a guideline for making sure the network itself is secure so that you're not compromising the customer's credit card information, their identity, anything that may be stored with that payment system whenever they make a transaction. So how we fit into that with the cloud solution is, one, when you put a camera on the network, we're streaming to the service, cloud server, but we're not actually using any firewall rules. We're not opening ports. We are sending outbound traffic only, so there's no inbound traffic that has to come back into the system. So you don't have to do anything extra like setting up a VLAN to make sure the traffic is segmented. You're not setting up a second ISP drop. And lastly, you're not really having to worry about setting up a VPN, which is usually the only secure way you get a retailer to be PCI compliant when you're putting an on-premise recorder on site and they're requesting for off-site video, which is something that every retailer tends to want these days, is to see video when they're not at their location. Again, everything's viewed from those cloud servers, so when someone does make a request to see video and they're out of the building, they're actually not even reaching into the retailer's location. They're reaching to the data center to see that video set to make any changes to the system. So you're hitting kind of a different location, which just helps with the added cybersecurity. Lastly, we are doing end-to-end data encryption for the video. So when that video gets sent from the camera to the cloud, we're putting an encryption wrapper on it. Once it gets stored in the cloud, we're encrypting the video file to make sure that even if the data center for some reason gets compromised, that file cannot be accessed by anybody that might reach into that server. And then lastly, we do keep everything up to date automatically from that cloud server. So when we find things in the camera that we may need to update, whether it be a feature, whether it be a security patch, we're able to push that down from the cloud server to the camera automatically with a touch of a button. So you're not having to worry about going on site to make sure things are up to date. It can all be done from the comfort of someone's office, sitting back and just accessing it remotely. Flexible storage is another great advantage. So whenever you put a recorder on site, typically you're having to spec that recorder out for the number of cameras they want at the time. Typically, those recorders are going to have limited hard drive spaces. Typically, it's going to be 1, 2, 4. Depending upon the size of the recorder, you're going to have to worry about putting hard drives in there at that point in time for what they need, usually to hit the budget. If they need more storage down the road, you're having to go back on site. You're having to upgrade the hard drive. You have to worry about what you're doing with the data that was already stored on the hard drive that they have to make sure they don't lose any evidence. It can be a pretty cumbersome process. With this system, you get to choose from starting from, say, a week to a month to sometimes even a year or 2 years worth of retention, and you can change that throughout the course of the deployment. And that is done basically by just changing the subscription plan. You let us know what the retailer wants. They want 7 days to start, then they want to go to 30. We make this flip of a switch, the billing gets changed, and we start to extend to that next billing period the very same day. You're not having to go on site. You don't have to worry about losing any of the evidence that you already had on the hard drive. It just kind of keeps moving forward from that point on. And the great thing for that is sometimes people just don't know. You may want to say that we only need 7 days. An incident happens on day 9. Next thing you know, they need 14 days. This is an easy way to help get them back into compliance, back into what they need to make sure they feel safe and secure in their location with the least amount of work as possible. Ultra secure. So when we talk about storage being flexible, this is another thing that the cloud has a huge advantage on over on-premise. And mainly that is we get asked, what about smash and grabs? Someone comes in, they rob the store, they go, they find the recorder, they rip the recorder out, or they find a way to destroy that hardware when it's on site. Most retailers are not spending a lot of time and effort to secure these things in lock boxes and secure closets. They're putting them wherever they have space, maybe in a manager's office, under a desk, on top of a desk. So if that happens, you know, the video gets taken or lost. 1, they have to replace the hardware. 2, the evidence is in loss, so they may not be able to actually catch the person that actually committed the crime. Or it also alleviates, I should say, tampering with the system. So for internal employee theft, employees can walk in, they have access, they find a way to, say, temporarily unplug a camera from the back of the recorder, and next thing you know, the video's down. You go to look at the incident that happened, and it's just not there. So you kind of eliminate that need by putting that video up in the data center. And again, we talk about the encryption. The video is going to be fully encrypted while it's stored in the cloud. So you get kind of the benefit of making sure the file can't be tampered with. And then the data center that we use is a tier 4 level data center. And with that, we get 3-time backup redundancy on all the video. So retailers typically don't pay for a RAID configuration, especially smaller, 1 location, 2 location retail stores. They get that benefit with this as part of the subscription. So for some reason a hard drive does fail, I'm not going to say hard drives don't fail in the cloud because it is a drive. You've got 2 more redundant backups to that, and then another drive will build itself automatically in place to create the triple redundancy in the event of anything happening to it. Where this really gets powerful is multi-site management. So if you start off with 1 location, easy to manage, easy to set up for those small users. But if you have, say, franchise owners or regional retail locations, you may have 20 locations across the Southwest. You can put those cameras out at each location, and everything gets managed from 1 central command console, which is desktop client software. They can look at those cameras from each location independently. They can group them into zones, however they want to. I should say, look at the video. So you can have front doors in 1 zone, back doors in another, registers in another. It's very customizable. But the benefit too is the admin of the system can sit back at 1 location. They set up the user permissions. They go through everything that they need to without having to go on the site and set up anything extra for each on-premise recorder. The other thing we can create with this is the unlimited users. So if you've got regional loss prevention managers, I can create as many regional loss prevention user credentials as I want. I can restrict those down to camera level. Schedule when they can and can't actually access the system at all, and you can temporarily, with a touch of a button, block their access if for some reason they're no longer with the company, or if they just make sure that they're not seeing something that you're doing with the system. And that we talk about easy management. So the system is pretty intuitive, and there is only 2 ways to access it currently. You have the desktop client and you have a mobile app, and they're very similar in how they operate. The desktop client is going to be your primary source for configuration and control. That's where you can actually see the most cameras at once. So you can live view up to 25 cameras on a single monitor at one time. If you're using a PC with dual monitors, we can actually do 25 per monitor. So it can be a pretty powerful kind of watching station. We can monitor 1 location in a single grid, or you can monitor multiple locations in a grid. So drag and drop functionality. You can see what you want to when you need to on the fly. All the camera settings and system settings are done from either the mobile app or the desktop client. So you're not having to bounce between a local user interface versus a remote user interface. You're not having to go to a camera's web page to make a camera change versus doing it from the system. It makes it very easy to teach and learn. Alerting notifications are done with kind of a scheduled basis, or just to, touch of a button. We'll send out push alerts to the mobile apps based upon what you want to know about, or email alerts if you still have that as a preferred method when an event takes place. Offloading video is pretty fast and easy. We do it in both the desktop and the mobile application. You can do that basically by finding an event. Click on the event, choose to export that video right then and there. The video file is a universal MP4 file or .mov file, so it's easily shareable, can be played in any media player without any additional codec packs or worrying about compatibility. Lastly, we talked about before the unlimited users with unique permissions. You can do that directly from the console. So whenever someone gets that desktop client, you're teaching them how to use it. What they see for their everyday interaction for live view is what they use to configure the system. You're not having to do two different platforms, one for configuration and then one for live view. And then lastly, to help out with customers, is that we do have a remote access support option that's built into the platform. So if a customer just can't seem to figure things out and they don't want to give out their credential, you can get them in touch with our support staff. We have a way to turn on a help desk feature where we can backdoor into the system temporarily, help make those configuration changes, get them up and running. They can turn that off, and then we immediately lose access to make sure it's secure and no one had to share their user rights with anyone in our office or your office. So let's talk about why cloud for retail, the big advantages. The retail space is typically a cost-conscious space. Most small retail stores are not putting a big budget aside for security. So when you go and you pitch one of these solutions, typically they're going to look for lower upfront costs. We can provide that with cloud because we are eliminating hardware. You no longer have to put a hard drive or a recorder in place on site. So you kind of immediately have an advantage going in by just pitching cameras, and then you get to start pitching a low monthly subscription cost to help offset kind of what they may have in mind for that right now purchase. Lower ongoing maintenance. So as we mentioned, we would hope that everyone would want to pay and have someone managing the system. They put it in a secure environment in their place. A lot of times that's costly. They may not have a secure room. You may have to build one. They may not have someone on staff that's trained to know how to keep a hard drive up to date, make sure it's dust free. Look at the health system, keep it up to date on firmware updates. That's a cost. You can eliminate that because one, the hardware is being monitored at the data center. That's being done automatically. You don't have to do it. They don't have to do it. More secure storage. It's in the data center. Exactly. So we help them with the need of what happens if someone breaks my recorder? What if someone comes in and they try to take it? We eliminate that. Enhanced compliance. So we can offer the flexibility of storage is one of the biggest things. You may have compliance needs on saying, I have to record 90 days for statute of limitations on certain liability for slip and fall cases. We give you 24/7 reporting with this solution, with this subscription. So if they want 24/7 for 90 days, we will make sure that we give them 24/7 90. You don't have to do any storage calculations to figure that out. It's not a guessing game on how much activity they may get. We base it off 24/7 video. And then the on-demand scalability. So if 90 days isn't enough, upgrade it. We can upgrade that to, say, 6 months, a year, 2 years. It's done basically by just changing the subscription plan without having to worry about putting hardware back in that location. For you as a dealer, what this means for you, one, reduced installation times. So you're not installing as much equipment. You're not having to put the recorder in a secure environment. So it should be able to get in and out of that install faster, which, that saves you time and money. Hopefully it'll minimize your tech service calls. You're not having to worry about someone calling you saying, hey, I can't get this hard drive to show up. Or for some reason, I can't access this system, from the local interface. The password isn't working. The cloud puts that all on one platform. We do all the software updates from that platform. Password resets are handled like any other system, which makes it easy. You get the forgot password in the app, and it takes you to an online process, so no one's calling. Those are some of the biggest tech support calls we get are for, I can't get the system online, or I forgot my password, and this kind of puts that back in the customer's hands to really manage. It's very easy to use. So in terms of training a customer how to use this, you're training them on 2 applications, a mobile app and a desktop client. There is no local user interface because we don't have a recorder on site. So it should help you get them up and running, understand how to operate the system a lot faster than in the past. And you still get to earn your money up front. So you still have to sell cameras for the solution. Those cameras are IP cameras. So you're still gonna have the opportunity to make money on the hardware for that, the installation of the cameras, and the subscription just starts rolling, which helps you generate that recurring monthly revenue, which is kind of the goal of getting you into this platform from revenue generation. So let's lean into that. So building RMR. Every subscription is going to build monthly revenue for you. So as to where in the past you would go, you'd make your money all in one stop shop for one install, walk away. That customer's kind of done spending money with you unless an incident happens, and they're going to basically hopefully call you for a service call. With this, you're going to get monthly revenue every month. The system just stays up to date. They pay the bill, and that revenue comes in. And you can get anywhere from $3 or $4 per month per camera up to $23 per subscription per month. It depends on how many cameras they have, the retention time, but it can build very quickly. We also offer annual subscription options. So there are people that don't want to pay monthly, but they like the solution. You can have them prepay for a year's worth of service. That actually helps you get more money up front. You get your money for the subscription up front, and then every year it'll just renew, and that just continues to build as well. So it's a very, very compounding solution for you to help augment your business. The price lists are available online, so please go to your dealer portal on the Alibi Security webpage, and you can get the price list and see kind of the different subscription options and how that would work out for you. So when we talk about building it up, this is just a good example of how it works. So say that you have 1080p cameras, you're doing a 30-day retention plan. On average, that plan may get you anywhere from $350 up for per camera. So if you were to sell 2 retail projects a month between 4 to 6 cameras, that's 24 systems a year. It's not a lot. But over the course of 2 years, you're talking about building up, over $7,000 in recurring revenue that you wouldn't have had in the past if you were to just sell them the on-premise recorder and walk away. And this is a solution that keeps building for the customer. Features get added, they get rolled into the system. We can continually give the customer more to where they feel that they're getting value out of the recurring monthly fee that they're paying to you. So what's next? Go ahead and check your inbox after the presentation. Excuse me. And go online and check out our website. The Alibi Cloud VS system is online in its own category on the webpage. You can see all the camera choices that we have available today, which we'll be expanding in the future as well. See all of the benefits on why this would help you and your customer. And then call your sales rep. All the sales reps here are set and ready to give you a live demo of the solution. They can walk you through how the system works for live view, playback, system configuration, user management, to see how really easy it is to use. This is a number if you don't have it, but go ahead and make sure you call that account rep. So questions and answers. We'll cover a few now. So what are the bandwidth requirements? It's a great question for retail. Retail is typically, they don't usually pay for the highest bandwidth speeds coming in and out of the building. And that's really something that you do need to take into account before you deploy the solution in a retail location. We need anywhere from 128K up to 2 megs per camera. And that really depends on what the customer is looking for. If they're looking for high-res video at 1080p and they expect it to be at 20 to 25 frames, you're obviously going to need a little more bandwidth. So you need to plan for that being upwards of 1.5 to 2 megs per camera. If they're going to be fine with, say, 720p or even 1080p, but you don't need real-time video. Typically, 7 to 10 frames is what most people settle on for good fluid movement. You can get that kind of lower to somewhere in that 256K to maybe a meg range is what you want. What's a typical application that you see? So we actually get a lot of different application requests for this. What we're seeing right now is we have a lot of people that the retailer they're going to put an on-premise solution on. The camera count may not make sense. They may have 16 cameras to 20 cameras depending on the size of the store. And for that, cloud may just not make sense because you have to put a bigger bandwidth feed into that building. So what we're doing is we're seeing augmentation. So you may put those cameras in place for an on-premise recorder, but they may have hot zones that they really want to make sure they retain for slip and fall liability, or they want to watch their actual on-premise recorder and make sure that they have video in case something happens. They can put that on-prem in site, then they can go and they can put 1, 2, or 3 cloud cameras in a separate system, and that video is being stored directly into the data center. It's secure, so if something does happen, they've got one longer-term retention because they can put, say, a 90-day subscription license on that versus having to worry about the on-prem hard drive, or if the recorder gets damaged, they still have footage of the activity that took place. Other than that, we are seeing people that are going full cloud. They may only have, typically, I would say a good application is anywhere from 2 to 12 cameras, depending upon the needs that you have. And we've seen customers completely move everything to the cloud because this fits all of their needs and they just don't want to worry about having 2 solutions. So it's really flexible on how you want to take it to market. Does this solution integrate with point of sale? So currently we are investigating some point of sale solutions that would kind of work in unison with this. Today we don't have that solution in place, but we're continually trying to find a way to make this work in any vertical that we can. So we'd actually love your feedback after the webinar. If you have specific point of sale applications that you run into frequently, please let us know. Get to your sales rep and get that feedback back to me so we can make sure that we're looking at the right fit for how this would work. But absolutely, we are definitely investigating how we can make this more robust for point of sale. I think that was the last one we had today for time. Thank you guys for joining us. Please follow up again with your sales rep after the webinar, check the website, and thank you for attending today.